Sup nerds, Own Goal here, bringing you the third part of how we made it to the finals of a big international land battles tournament with cheese. So previously we took a look at the round of 8 and the round of 16 against SIPA and Pigman. This put us onto the semifinals against ODM Sexy Boy, who's another like absolute top level player. He kind of bounces between the top division and the second division in Vermin League. You know, on a good day, he can take down pretty much anybody. So, like a very threatening opponent and someone that you want to be prepared for. And we made sure to do that by not practicing. Our practice was the last couple games that you just saw, and trying to bring stuff that was like at least a mild surprise. So, speaking of surprises and not surprising, in the first game of the series, we actually just brought the same build. Um, we tried some anti-large minos just to see, you know, like I like to mix it up and try units out when we're still figuring out a format. But otherwise, like I just think Corrin doesn't have that many tools against this kind of build. Like, you know, there's good SEs, so you can shut down cannons and shut down their SEs, and then you just have a bunch of kite elements. So in this situation, we're on a Vanguard map where we can deploy pretty far forward, and we just have to do kite and pick again. It's like tried and true playbook, works pretty well. Early in the game, he shows a lot of aggression on our Lord with Valkia, which is like you want to note that, like how much do they like to dive? Um, and at this point, we're kind of just shooting him and running away, you know, getting the damage we can, chipping on Valkia a bit. And then anytime he gets stuck in with the Wrathmongers, we want to cycle charge and roll out. And we're just looking to get, you know, impact damage and like do pretty good damage on isolated Wrathmongers where possible. There we see him drop with the Lord, and we just immediately target redirect our SC Assassin Squad onto Valkia because they pretty much mess up anything, and they're quite hard to get away from. And then we pile on, we snipe Valkia, and after that, it's pretty similar to the script you saw in the Pigman game. Like, the Lord is dead. He doesn't have that many tools to deal with our kite, so we just need to throw axes and cycle charge and take his units out one at a time. And he doesn't really have the agency to catch us. You know, like he makes an attempt over here with his mobility units, but we have better mobility, so we're able to get them. And now we're just kind of cycle charging in and out and taking picks we can get. We don't have infinite time, so we're playing a little bit aggressively because time is really the only way we're losing when we're this far up on value and his Lord is dead. So then we take a dive once we have an overwhelming advantage, and it routes off the rest of the Corn units for us to go up 1-0 in the semifinals. In our second game, we tried Dark Elves into his Empire. Again, taking a somewhat unconventional build. Like, we have a lot of arty. We were expecting that he went for like more of a box here, and we could take a high ground position, slow its push, and then eventually go for like a melee and chariot counter rush. Convoluted plan, but one that we've played a bunch of times and it works. It turns out that it's like a hot steaming turd in land battles. And Sexy Boy took a pretty cool kite build with Elspeth von Draken on a dragon, and then just like mass skirmishers. And this game is really a clinic. Let's pause and look at it from his perspective on how to assault a static position with skirmishers, cav, and an elite lord. So he tries to match up his elite lord against my cheaper one so he can get an assassination. He screens some of his infantry on the approach in his cavalry, and we get okay damage onto some of these, but they're high leadership. And now he's getting within range, and it's a big problem for us because he's able to just like essentially Buna off our cavalry one at a time, get the mobility advantage with his skirmishers and cav, and then take out our arty and our scourge runners, which leaves us without a lot of counterplay. We try to get some damage off on Elspeth to like pull the game back, but her healing and his ability to keep more of his skirmish units up in the late game so that he can kite us out is really devastating here. And then once our shooting is down, he can kind of just cycle charge with his lord and take skirmisher pot shots while he grinds out our army. We try to get like some desperation doom bolts to finish off his lord, but he's aware of it and, you know, keeps his lord at a sufficiently healthy level. We're left with a bunch of dark elf infantry chasing a bunch of units that it can't catch, and this isn't really enough. So Sexy Boy does a nice job winning this one into what he later told me was like kind of a bad matchup for Empire. This puts us to 1-1 in the series. I lost game 3. It got corrupted or something, but we played Greenskins into Beastman, and he effectively kited us out to put us down 1-2. In game 4, we brought like a pretty sweaty kite build for Wood Elves. So, you know, triple Way Watchers. This is like a classic thing. Bunch of cav, little bit of infantry, Glade Lord on a dragon with a net. You can mix and match some of the specific unit choices, like the caster and the exact cav suite. But it's a tried and true idea that gives a lot of things, especially like the slow-moving SE heavy chorfs, significant difficulty. And we had taken Cliff of Beasts and a bunch of defensive factions like Wood Elves, knowing that this open map that would allow us to deploy uphill would give us a significant advantage if we ended up facing shooting against another melee faction. So we load in and we see he's taking this arty box. And so we decide that we're going to capture the point and push up, try to pick off soft units. He's got some renders, so he'll beat us in a sustained melee engage if we don't get sufficient damage off. And he had a magma cannon, which has just been buffed on the last patch. I thought it wouldn't actually do that much damage, but this thing kind of fried up some wood elves. So here my judgment was, well, look, I've got poke from my lord and all of these kite units, and I can just walk up and I'll win the trade. Which did happen, like we're winning this trade. You can kind of see we get very good damage off on him, but not by as much of a margin as I had expected. Like his flame cannon is just roasting up the wood elves, which is really impressive. I'll have to try this unit out. We're prioritizing his cavalry when we can get it, because once his cav is down, we've got our own cav, and we can go take out all his infantry and range units and cannon pretty easily. So we're taking pot shots on the cav, we're netting it if we can, and we get some pretty good engages with our cav. And that's enough, combined with like getting pretty good damage with the Wave Watchers, to get a significant lead. And here, you can see we're up on the army, but it's more than you think, because the place that we've taken damage is Wave Watchers, but they've used a bunch of their ammo. And so we have a lot of very, very healthy melee units intact at this point in the game. Like, look at all this cavalry. We've got our Lord, it's got some abilities. We've got our Branch Wraith and healing. And this gives us a huge edge. So now we just need to push in on his Flame Cannon, take good fights on his isolated cav where we can get it, and that brings home the game and ties us up at 2-2. So that's like a pretty basic meat and potatoes execution of Wood Elf Kite. I'm sure we made like a few mistakes in there, but you can try this kind of build out. It's a lot of fun, and it'll build up some spacing and positioning skills to practice this playstyle. I'm a big fan of it. In game 5, we brought our Skaven into his lizards. We went for like another very stat-heavy build, this time with Ikit, because we thought flensing would be pretty good into big dinosaurs. He took like a very, very cav-heavy rush with some big SEs and a foot Mazda with his bound spells, and some like nice anti-Skaven tech. And we weren't really ready for this. We should have been, because mass cav rush is very common in land battles. But our build just doesn't quite have enough stuff to stop that, especially like the big dino with healing. Yeah, we have all these night runners, but on this map, Peasant's Pasture, which he had picked, it doesn't necessarily give us like the best lines of shooting. So he starts out the rush. We try to kite for as long as we can while we build up magic on Ikit. And this is all fine and good. We're positioning. This is nice positioning by him. Like, we go for an early flank engage, and he backs off and avoids it while he brings around the other flank. Our objective there was to fight all these units with a small portion of our army. Now, while he's retreating, we pivot to see if he can react appropriately by bringing the rest of his army in. And he absolutely does. That's a nice turn. And while this is going on, he's building up Wom on his Mazda in order to fuel stronger Arcane Unforging on our Lord. And we're trying to keep our Lord far enough away that he can't easily get the cast. We decide to go for an engage on his back flank when we see what we think is a small positional weakness. And then we take out these units off the edge and have a slight blunder, leaving some of like our chasing anti-large units over there. He gets a nice center engage, routing a lot of stuff with his Pterosaurus, and getting on top of our ranged units, and is able to carry that out to removing our damage pieces and winning with his large monster. So very nice play from him overall, like a good surround via flanking approach and good reactions to like our box counterplay. As well as, like, I think a pretty solid build that stresses us on some axes that we're not entirely prepared to deal with. So that's a well-earned win by Sexy Boy. He grinds out on the back of the Mazda heals and the big monster. We try to get good damage on it, but, he's healing it. It's got leadership. It runs away. Everything's fine. And ultimately, we're ground out. Here we might have made, like, a game-losing mistake. Once we route this guy, we could have chased it. But we don't really have enough units left over that we can just chase this all the way across the map, not doing damage to it while he hits back at us. So instead, we turn and go for a desperation pick on his Mazda. I hope you guys can hear the very sad dog behind me. He's a sad, sad boy. He's a sad, sad boy. Is there my sad boy? Oh, here he comes. So much sadness. He was sitting behind the door just wailing in sorrow that he couldn't come in and see you all. Okay, so Ikit did really well, and I think the rest of our army didn't. Like, these guys did all right. Yes, I know. Life is hard, huh, bud? Life is hard. This is Warhammer commentary brought to you by Otter the Greyhound. E. We hate to lose. E. So we're down 2-3 with our tournament life on the line. And we know it's time to bring out the cheesiest fucking conquest cheese we can find. Zinchian degeneracy, Spellkite. And that's, we'll take the buff Zinch units, shoot it with Kairos in this grinder and try not to engage. And hopefully the Dark Lord strats can work. On his approach, we try to get damage on the Scourge Runners first and foremost, because if he runs out of shooting here, then he's got to come in and fight the Chaos Warrior Halberd Blob, which he's not going to be able to beat. Like, these things are just monsters stacked on top of each other. We also see that he's got, he's taken Soul Stealer, like, probably to prevent our Lord Poke. And so we need to be a little bit careful about bunching up, and we're also not trying to put that much damage on Marathi until we see that the WOM is used on other things, because she can just heal it up. So we build up some WOM to try to get army abilities with Kairos. We poke the things we can get, and we maintain like a strong defensive perimeter on top of the hill so that he has to attack uphill to get us. And then we do like, a little bit of poke with the Exalted Pinks, but they're a fast unit. And so it's difficult for him to actually like catch them and stay in. They're also pretty tough. They just got buffed. Intercept the Cav as it tries to dive, get some counter charges with Spawn and Halberds. And now he's like pretty much dead. Like, he's lower ammo and health on some of these. He's micro-lapsed them while we're just crushing his interior infantry and cav. And there's just like not enough damage output and bodies left to deal with the pile of Zinch. We get some good army abilities off. He chases our Lord with Marathi, but it doesn't do anything, and he concedes. So that ties up the series at 3-3. Pretty exciting. So the next game, will be best for all the marbles game. So in the final game, he gets to pick. He takes his main GC. We take VC, which evidently isn't that good in land battles right now, but they're like an absolutely dominant Dom faction, and they recently got some nice buffs, like on this last patch, to their global heal. So we're taking a filthy Spellkite build with the intention of shooting him with our spells and self-healing up until enough ranged units are dead that we can just take the dive. And we've also taken a single ROR Graveguard. The Stern's been very cool and fun unit. And we're going to take a corpse card in that and waddle it onto the point at some point if we get ahead on points, which is almost impossible to remove and puts them on a real timer where they need to come into melee instead of just shooting you indefinitely. We take advantage of the terrain by deploying into pincer form behind both of the trees and in good position to take the point. And he's basically white line camping and trying to Spellkite us. So we have some classic conquest where Spellkite in Forest Camp is fighting against white line camp, and Spellkite... who will be the more degenerate of the two metas. I don't actually hate his build. I think it's got some good play here. It's really cool with the Onbow. Like, the Shem's Burning Gauge does good damage to our Lord. But this is another one of those target priority things where we're absolutely fine for him to spend a bunch of resources damaging this Lord while we heal it back up, and it itself does decent damage back. Well, the rest of our like tanky army remains intact. We've gone for double Vargolf because we know that this can beat most SEs in melee, and we wanted to be ready for like a Terracotta Sentinel setup or something. And they're also pretty good diving units, and they're very good in these kinds of protracted engages where they can either get healing from your Lord or heal themselves via the hunger. These kinds of units are great if you want to cast an Overcast Invocation, because they're very fast. It's like basically a less strong but 80 move speed giant. So they're like cavalry speed giants, which is spooky and very cool. And so it's pretty easy to get them blobbed under like a big heal. So we're taking pot shots with our Gaze of Nagash, like a filthy Spellkiter on his Iron Hail Gunners, because these are the only units with really enough DPS to take out our blob of vampires. And the idea is like, we'll weaken these up with some Scab Scrape hits from our White Kings and some shots from our Lord, and then he's not actually aggressing, so he's just sticking to his white line camp and spellcasting to try to accumulate value, which we're actually fine with because we're accumulating value faster and healing back the damage he's doing. So, haha, the superior Spellkite, yes! This is why the points should capture a little bit faster. Let me just stir up some controversy. So, well, that's all going on. We don't want to give him the point because our threat here is we just walk the Graveguard in and he's dead if we get up enough. And we're only exposing the zombies, so there isn't really a good target for him. And, we're just juicing our White King abilities and our gazes. And you can see that this plan is working out pretty well, where we're like actively thinning down his complement of Iron Hails. He goes for some plays to get the point, and we can just walk in. We're careful to try to keep the Vargulfs on the other side of his stuff from his arty so that he'll either fire obstruct and not shoot, or do self-damage. Eventually, he kind of sees that like the timer is on him, so he has to fight rather than maintain the camp. And he walks up to try to like get an engage. And he actually gets a decent pick on our Lord here. We thought it was landed, but it wasn't. But that's okay. It self-heals and is nearly invincible. So we land, he backs off. And while that's going on, we know that he's committed his elite units and Lord, and so there's an opportunity for us to push through onto his backline with some of our chasers. Once we see that he's running and we have like a good diving position, we just send everything except for the one Stearnsman, which we're going to use to go clear the point with its corpse cart support and just hold. And so this is kind of a double gambit where like, yes, we can dive and maybe lose because we didn't send everything, but like also we're not going to be able to catch him with the Stearnsman. And so now if we lose on the charge, he also has to kill us fast enough that he can get back to the point, which is going to be almost impossible against Vargulfs because they're so tanky and so fast. So, you know, he sends a lot of his target priority and spell priority onto our Lord. Well, it's still getting pretty good damage and also healing some other things. And we're able to just kind of dance out of it and have it not actually die. This is like, you know, the ideal. We have our tanky Lord ending the game at 1100 HP. And so he's not able to quite kill it. Well, we easily finish off the rest of his ranged units and run him over with the undead hordes. So that's a spooky tournament win. Or that's a spooky semifinals win. Haha. The tournament will be finished soon. And honestly, I was like thrilled and kind of surprised to make it this far in the event. Because I know there's like a lot of really good players who worked harder for this. So the lesson here is, you know, hard work doesn't pay off. And also spell kite if you're playing conquest and it's serious. Don't do that. Don't do that in casual games. It's rude. It's bad. Don't do it. I don't do it. I don't recommend it unless I'm trying to make a point. And then it's fine. That doesn't count the same. That puts us on to the finals where we'll play against the winner of this side of the bracket. Maybe Morovoy, maybe Green One, probably Heisey. Heisey's been really strong lately. I'm looking forward to the finals, win or lose. And it's been a fun tournament so far. So thanks for the TO to organize. And kind of cool to see like this sort of international invitational going down. Would be great to see more of these. Thanks everybody for watching. Remember to subscribe if you like this kind of content. And I'll cast the finals once we get to those. See you later, nerds.